to the dailies.
As a people with one song, with one voice, we're a nation undivided and poised. We will take a stand and build our land in faith to defend what is ours. Here we are as a people with one heart for one cause. We're determined to rebuild and restore. We're freedom, rise, and truth prevails. Our land where there's hope for us all. Our land where there's hope for us all. We'll defend our land. We believe in this nation, and we know we'll get there. We'll defend our land. We believe in Nigeria and the promise she holds, and that one day we'll shine like the sun. We're a great nation.
Yes, what we need is to believe that one day, just one day, Nigeria would be a great nation, a better nation that we all are looking forward to. Good morning, and you're welcome to the weekend. Yes, my name is Buraola Yusuf, and this is the dailies right here from the Konli Hamzat studio at Gidigbo 88.7 FM. Yes, this is the last day and last edition of the dailies for this week. Of course, we are going to continue next week, but for this weekend, let us use this one to say, okay, this is when we are saying goodbye. All right, good morning. I'll be starting from the front page of our daily newspapers as usual, after which our analyst in the studio would enlighten us on how the stories, how they actually do concern us, or how they can affect us as citizens living in Nigeria. I'll be starting from the Daily Trust newspaper, where we have the story that says a federal government puts 18 states FCT on flood alert. That story is on page 4. Two writers to that story. The first one says cholera escalation likely. The second one says states roll out enlightenment campaigns. On the front page of Vanguard newspaper also, there is a story concerning flooding, saying 21 local government areas in 10 states, FCT submerged in flood. That story is still coming from federal government on page 5 of the Vanguard newspaper. To rather the story, the first one says, no release of water from dams, Cameroon's Lagdo Dam. The second one says the federal government wants state and local government to safeguard the lives of Nigerians. Moving on to the front page of the Punch newspaper, where we also have the story in bold there on page 2, saying 10 states are battling flood, 21 others at risk. Federal government warns. A couple of writers to the story on the front page of Punch. The first one says, government fears cholera may worsen as Lagos, Abuja, others account losses. The second one says, flooding kills a pupil. That is quite a sad one. Another one says, rivers to overflow July. Ondo, Kaduna, 17 orders to be affected. Another one says, a flood sacks 10 Ogun communities. Right, so that is a story we have concerning flooding. And yes, we're going to be treating that first. Moving on, back to the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper. We have a couple of, basically, not really much stories. So we're going to move to the front page of the Vanguard newspaper. On the issue of Edo gubernatorial election, PDP court wrestle over Ighodalo's candidacy. That story is on page 7 of the Vanguard newspaper. Appeal court avoids a sack of Rivers Assembly Speaker Amewule 24 others. That story is on page 8 of the Vanguard newspaper. And yes, we'll be discussing that this morning. On page 19, federal government's debt to petrol importers exceeds 9.1 trillion naira. Right, on page 28 of the Vanguard newspaper, 2,000 retirees receive 4.5 billion naira benefits in Lagos. JAM uncovers 3,000 fake graduates. Page 9 of the Vanguard newspaper. Federal government working seriously to secure ungoverned spaces. That is coming from the National Security Advisor of Nigeria on the issue of kidnapping in Nigeria. Page 9 of the Vanguard newspaper has the details to that story. Moving on to the front page of the Punch newspaper. Federal government plans a 2 trillion naira economic revival scheme. Inaugurates committee. Nigeria to host $5 billion African Energy Bank. Page 21. Still on page 21, NNPC disagrees as report puts petrol debt as at $6 billion. They are saying no, that is not true. Alright, Labour heads for victory in UK exit poll. The foreign story is on page 28 of the Punch newspaper this morning. MPA launches tugboats to boost port operation. That story is on page 11 of the Punch newspaper today. Alright, Edo APC jubilates, PDP orders come as court nullifies Ighodalo's candidacy. Page 14 of the Punch newspaper. Finally, on the front page of the Nation newspaper this morning, Tinubu injects 2 trillion naira to stimulate the economy. That story is on page 2. The writer to that story says, health, agriculture, power generation get priority. That is coming from Wale Edun. The story is on page 2 of the Nation newspaper. Lagos pensioners get 4.5 billion naira. Yes, that story is there alongside the story of Rivers State and also of Edo State politics. Right now, we'll be moving straight into the stories, and also we shall be discussing how these stories, how they actually do affect us. What do they mean in a real sense of it? Not talking about the headlines alone, the body of the stories. So what are these stories? What do they actually mean for us? And that is why we have the great maestro in the studio with us this morning. Good morning, maestro. You're welcome.
Good morning. It's my pleasure to be here.
All right. I hope it's been a great week.
Well, we thank God for His mercies.
All right then. Yesterday I think we did a lot of talking concerning flooding in so many states, as we've been saying, and also concerning what Nimet said about the rain. I think they said for about 3 days, and so that's supposed to end today for that forecast actually. But now it is in the news again that currently 10 states are battling flooding, and we have 21 others at risk. and that is like 31 states already out of how many?
36.
Yes, so that's a saying we should take this serious. And also, they said by the end of July, starting from this July, there is going to be quite a lot of flooding in so many states, and there are some high risk states in which I'll be telling you your state is even part of.
Yes. I told you yesterday.
Yes.
It's something that we experience all over the country. Even when you go to the very harsh areas, so to speak, of the country, you have these extremes happening from time to time. You know that parts of the north could be very, very extreme when it comes to weather. Whether it's Harmattan season, it could be really extreme. Whether it's dry season, the heat could be scorching. And if it's rainy season too. So, as people who live in the tropics, we expect these things to happen. And as much as I am not a global warming climate change enthusiast, I believe that a large part of the narrative is true, and that we're experiencing, these changes. We are even feeling it in our lifetimes. It wasn't like this at some point when we were growing up, and I'm sure people who are even older than people like me could tell a thing or two about how the climate had changed over the years. So the thing to do is to brace up and plan ahead. There's a part of this thing, like I said, that has to do with planning. And a great deal of planning doesn't go into our systems anymore.
Exactly.
We simply go to face these things from administration to administration. So people have to, one, look ahead. Like the last time we had a very terrible one in Kogi State, where a lot of houses were, flooded, lives lost, and so on. Some people decided to stay despite the forecast, and that shouldn't be. People should try as much as possible to consider the areas that they live and work in, and to take these warnings very seriously. It's when we still have life, we could do a few things. We could hope, but when that life is taken, that's the end of it. So I think, like I said yesterday, your choice is principal in all considerations. Where you choose to live, whether you choose to stay or move after the forecast, and so on and so forth. And I think government should help in broadcasting this.
Actually, the federal government is telling local government and state government that you see these places that are rather high risk, move people from there. But that is where we have a question of the fact that move these people to where, and also do we actually have the capacity? The local government, do they have the capacity of moving people that their their houses are at high risk of flooding, to move them somewhere else to cater for them for that period?
It depends on a lot of factors, on a few factors. The first thing is, what's the population, for instance, of people you want to move? That's very important. I mean, if your state, for instance, is talking about moving maybe 50, 100 people, it will be very difficult to say you don't have capacity to move 50, 100 people. But you see, is it a good culture? That's another thing. So every year, the state government and local governments will have to be moving people around. So I don't believe it's a good... but what I'm saying is that state governments, local, federal government should get involved in strong advocacy to encourage people to move by themselves. If you believe that you're in the danger zone, you should be able to move, because federal government, state government, and so on, what's the they don't have a lot of implications. You know how irresponsive and irresponsible bureaucracy could be. So what you need to do is to take care of yourself. If it's not entire states that are you find in that danger zone, it's usually one or two spots, in an entire state. But then it depends on where it situates. So, for instance, where would you move all those people whose areas were flooded in Lagos? How many people would you be moving?
Because Lagos is actually a very serious case of that.
So it's not something that you could tell people you're moving people. And in any case, I think that's very, very slight. It's so cosmetic. Because there was a year like that I was heading to Lagos during the Ilea. We were going to, go and join our people for Ilea. And there was heavy flooding right from the Secretariat end. And we were going to Egbeda axis. So the vehicles were practically, submerged. And so people on the road to, what do you do about them? So I think this is where I think we should apply more depth to all these announcements. Sometimes you hear some announcements and you wish, that, things were different. We need to apply depth, because you're talking about people who live in certain places. You're also talking about people who work in certain places. They don't live there, they work there. So, and sometimes the rain will not tell you on a particular day that it was going to do a lot of things. So, I think people who are talking on behalf of government should settle down a little bit. They should be calming down and think very well about what they are going to say before they begin to say things.
All right then. These are somehow being linked to the fact that if you have heavy flooding, it is going to somehow help the spread of cholera. Yes. So now.
So where's the connection?
That is the news. Says that. Talking about when we have heavy flooding. Said I'll try and look for the news, but they've somehow connected that, saying that this may affect the cholera we've been talking about. Do you not think so?
Well, I don't see the
connection,
direct connection. I think people are still keeping cholera in the news, and they're finding everything to make it stay there. Flooding and cholera. I could think about a lot of things that flooding could, bring about or make worse. But when you begin to now talk about flooding helping cholera, I really want to sit down and think about that. It does not strike me immediately, unless that's coming from, medical experts. So how does that come about?
Okay.
I'd love to know.
I'm reading the story now, and I'm also trying to look for where it is connected. It is actually coming from the Minister of Water Resources and Sanitation. Yes, it said he warned that cholera might spread further in Nigeria due to the flooding. He further stated that a river flooding would begin this month. Okay, that is the end of the connection, actually.
I don't know what he's talking about, sincerely. Because you see, if you know how these things quickly return to normal, when you have this rainfall in excess, and you have the flood, rise in hours after, as soon as the rainfall, stops, these things disappear.
All right.
So
let's go pay some bills now. When we are back, we'll continue the conversation concerning that. We'll be back.
88.7 FM.
Gẹ́gẹ́ bí aláboyún, ó ṣe pàtàkì kí n tọ́jú ara mi kí n sì wà ní ìlera pípé.
Kí ìwọ àtoyún inú ẹ lè wà ní ìlera tó péye.
máa lo oògùn ẹ̀jẹ̀ tó ní áyọ̀nù nínú àti folic acid lójoojúmọ́ lákòókò tó bá lóyún. Eléyìí ń dènà àìtó ẹ̀jẹ̀ nínú oyún yóò sì jẹ́ kóyún wà lálàáfíà. Fún ìlera pípé, ẹ máa yọjú sí àwọn òṣìṣẹ́ elétò ìlera yín fún ìtọ́jú oyún nígbà tó yẹ. Ìkéde yìí wá láti àkànṣeṣẹ́ ARIN, iléeṣẹ́ tó ń mójútó ètò ìlera ìpínlẹ̀ Ọ̀yọ́.
No matter wetin I show you, you show me love.
1, 2, 3, 4.
You show me, you show me, you show me love.
Show some more love today with 4 more packs of your favorite Indomie noodles in Indomitable and Super Pack cartons. Also, each Indomitable pack is now 200 naira, while Super Pack is now 350 naira. So hurry now. Offer valid till stock lasts.
My baby is 6 months old.
Oh my! 6 months old? Wow!
Now your baby needs more than breast milk. It's time to introduce mashed meals. In addition to breast milk, begin to give your baby mashed meals that contain at least one item from each of these 5 food groups: eggs, fish or meat, fruits and vegetables, oils, beans, groundnuts, soya or millet, rice, potato, maize or yam from 6 months. In addition to breast milk, your baby needs this combination of food types to grow healthy. This message is from the ANRIN Project or your State Ministry of Health.
Ìjìnà 1446 bá wa láyé alhamdulillah. Gẹ́gẹ́ bí ìṣe wa lọ́dọọdún àpapọ̀ ẹgbẹ́ ọ̀dọ́ mùsùlùmí nàkómi ó tún péjọ ṣe wá sí ìta gbangba nílé kan Salami Stadium Adamasingba Ìbàdàn lọ́jọ́ Sunday ọjọ́ keje oṣù keje ọjọ́ kìíní oṣù Muharram 1446. Alága ọjọ́ náà Alhaji Wasiu Adébísí, àwọn ẹni àyẹ́sí pàtàkì igbákejì gómìnà ìpínlẹ̀ Ọ̀yọ́ Alhaji Abdulrahim Bayola wa Chief Imam ilẹ̀ Ìbàdàn ààrẹ mùsùlùmí ilẹ̀ Yorùbá sẹ́ríkì mùsùlùmí ilẹ̀ Yorùbá babalájà àdínní ìpínlẹ̀ Ọ̀yọ́ aṣíwájú àdínní ìpínlẹ̀ Ọ̀yọ́ gíwá àdínní ìpínlẹ̀ Ọ̀yọ́ bàbá àṣàlẹ̀ àdínní Ìbàdàn láà tó fi dórí ìyá àdínní ilẹ̀ Yorùbá àti ìyálájà àdínní ìpínlẹ̀ Ọ̀yọ́ alága Ọ̀yọ́ State Muslim Community wà ń kalẹ̀ gbogbo ẹgbẹ́ mùsùlùmí ilé kéwú ilé ẹ̀kọ́ ẹ máa bọ̀ kájọ yọ àjọyọ̀ ọdún ìjìrà 1446 á fi àmì ẹ̀yẹ dá igbákejì gómìnà àtàwọn sànkùsànkù lọ́lá olùkéde Alhaji Daoud Afọlábí Nakumyu coordinator Ọ̀yọ́ State.
Akidibo 88.7 FM.
All right, we're back, and before we left, we were trying to talk about flooding and how it has been associated with cholera. And I saw a report now saying that the physicians and researchers have urged the federal and state government to provide safe drinking water to communities prone to flooding to curb further transmission of the infection. So that is actually concerning the places where we already have cholera cases, or maybe to prevent it.
I still don't know what they're talking about. State government should
talking about clean and safe water.
Should get prepared to move people around. State government should now provide suddenly clean water. How is that going to happen? The state government will just create a mechanism to start providing clean water where those facilities did not exist before. So how soon would they like it to happen? It's ridiculous. I think they are engaging in a lot of ridicule. This thing is, you see how puerile it is. We all know that clean water, pipe-borne water in our states, not just any one state, in our states, has been a tall order for a very long time.
Yes.
So for someone to now pop up now to be saying, okay, this rainy season, state governments have to now provide clean water. They should state how it will happen. And then tell us the precise plan they have for that to happen. I don't know why people are talking like this, sincerely. Because it shows a lot, that unseriousness is so eminent in this conversation now, state governments should provide clean water.
Because cholera is somewhat a waterborne disease.
I mean, if we're talking about really responsible people, we should have been talking health institutions like theirs should have been talking about clean water long before now. So if you want to engage state governments around the country, who should be engaged? Don't get me wrong.
Yes.
They should be engaged because we have water budgets every year. And the money is not, chicken feed. From federal government, water resources, and so on, all the way down to state governments, people budget heavy funds yearly into water systems. And we don't see nothing. Do you know that I have stayed on air for 2 hours, in the course of my presenting programs years ago, and all I was doing on the program that night, I remember clearly, was asking people to call in if you had pipe-borne water in your house.
Pipe-borne water.
Area, frequency, and so on. All over the place. I don't know if we got one place where they said, because I know this, I have a fair grasp of the history of how pipe-borne water system got destroyed in Oyo State. It was during the time of this military, I think it was a military administrator called Ike Nwosu, where they said they were building roads and so on, and they started destroying a lot of pipes. That time I was living around Old Ife Road there, and we had pipe-borne water.
Then?
Yes. So that's before 1999. So you see how recent this thing was. And they said, they were going to do that road. After doing the road, everything was going to be fine. Everything never returned to normal. I don't know the story of how pipe-borne water disappeared in other states. I've told you before, when I was in, secondary school. When I was in secondary school at St. Lawrence's Co-Educational Grammar School in Elisha, a Catholic school, we had water everywhere. We were lavish with water. And then it's all gone. So you would have expected that.
It's 7 a.m. on Agidigbo 88.7 FM.
All right, we're back.
So if we had the kind of health system that we should have, which goes into preventive and so on, you would have been tackling this water problem for a very long time. But what we did was to just dump everything in the hands of people like you and I. So what we ended up with is you're your own local government. So you provide your own water by either digging a well or you have a borehole if you could afford one. Then you sent your kids to private school, which means that's your responsibility. You provide security for yourself, by gathering. So what you see when you see, Landlords Resident Association, you are seeing splinters of local governments everywhere. So if they are now talking about state governments should pick up the responsibility of doing it suddenly, I think they're a bunch of jesters. Because it's not going to happen, and everybody knows that.
All right, then. Let us now move to the people. At some point in time, we should be responsible for ourselves. So now let's just talk about the fact that he said, flooding, and also talking about cholera, water. We need to be able to drink safer water to ensure that what we are drinking, what we are eating, it is safe. And now that they have even said, flooding may even affect that, may somehow help a cholera. What should people do? How better should people relate with the,
I think just to be safe, just not to throw this thing away.
All right.
Because I have in mind to simply throw it away. But let's play safe, okay? And say, let's assume that there is a connect somewhere between this flooding and cholera.
Let's assume.
So, one, people simply need to be more conscious, than ever before. Individually and collectively, family units, we now have to look at this connection, whether it exists or not, and ensure that we up our game when it comes to cleanliness. Because I'm trying to stretch it, I'm thinking, okay, maybe they are talking about what people dump when you have a flood. But whatever you dump when there's a flood will be flooded away. Maybe where it ends, the dregs might. So I'm trying to stretch it. And what I can say really is for people to be extra careful. Look out for yourself. Look out for your children, especially the very young, the kids. And ensure that right through this rainy season, since we are being warned now, let's heed the warning. Let's ensure that we stay as clean as we could.
And also, there is a news that says that a particular man died while he was pushing his car during a flood. I mean, there was flooding, and then his car was in there, and he was trying to push the car out of the way. He died in that place. So that is even talking more about safety, because the way people handle, it's my property, I can't just leave it, compared to their lives.
Well, we don't know what killed him. That's the problem. Maybe he died of, maybe he was exhausted, pushing or exertion, or maybe he sank or whatever. So that would have given us the latitude to say a few things about it. But since we don't know what actually killed him, it will be difficult to write it down to he didn't want to give up on his property, and which is really dangerous. I don't see how you could push anything in a flood situation. What would you be pushing? Do you want to push the flood? The flood is pushing everybody, including your car. So where would you stay?
He actually slumped.
That's what I'm saying. That so maybe he had something, before that situation occurred.
But I've seen pictures where people drive straight into flooded areas because they want to move.
Well, you see, I've found myself in that situation before. I drove through. Some of these things you could drive through at some level, but it's not advisable because you can't really measure it. And since it is something that is ongoing, the best thing to do is to find a safe place to simply park and wait for this thing to ebb out. I think that's the best thing to do because, some people have the kind of vehicles that could go through in certain situations. But then you could get caught up in it very quickly. And what you did not envisage might happen.
All right. Okay, that's still telling our people to be more careful.
Really careful.
Really careful. All right, then. Let us move on to Rivers, where we had a news yesterday saying that the court's verdict says these lawmakers, the 24 lawmakers who allegedly defected from the PDP to APC, and then they were stopped from accessing the complex or carrying out any legislative assignment in the name of Rivers State House of Assembly, saying that whatever happened that made that come into place, it is now void. Those people, they are lawmakers. That is talking about Martin Amayewule and 24 others. Those are the pro-Wike lawmakers. That is where we start now.
Yes, and we talked about it too. And if you, it's pretty obvious that there's a lot of naivety going into the Fubara tactics and strategies, and now that is what everything rested on. The position of Governor Fubara and everything rested on. But I think, I believe that the flip side of the coin was considered. That what if eventually they could not dislodge these lawmakers? What would it then be? But I think the suggestion then that took the day was to say, okay, let's buy time with this thing, because it went to the state high court, where a governor is expected to have some sway, right? And so the ruling came that they should stop parading themselves as lawmakers. Now, the Court of Appeal is saying that court lacked jurisdiction, that it shouldn't have even entertained the case at all, that it was expressly stated in the statute that it's only federal high court, is the federal high court that could undertake that kind of case, that had the jurisdiction and everything. So whatever the state high court did was null and void. Effectively, the lawmakers, they are back in business.
Exactly.
And so it also shows the corrupt, system that we're on. Because I don't believe that an entire high court, a whole high court, didn't know that it lacked jurisdiction. But like I told you, a governor has a lot of power inside his state, because largely those courts are tied, to powers that be in the state. So, and we must also push for their independence along the line. That's one of the fallouts. So right now, I don't know what is going to happen next. The time had been bought and it's been used. It's been bought and spent. So now what's going to happen in this one-upmanship that we're witnessing, these switches? Today we feel Fubara is
at the top.
And tomorrow it's Wike and his people.
And now right now, the pro Wike people feel like, okay, they're having the upper hand right now. I mean, talking about politics, that is more or less like 1-0 or whatever the score is.
Yeah, but you see, what I've always believed is that, former Governor Wike, who is now Honorable Minister of the FCT, should play things down. Let it simply simmer. Forget about making moves to impeach Fubara. Let him run his term. By all means, you could assert yourself where you could. Don't go as far as impeaching him. And I think Fubara too should, play it down also a little bit. Yes, you are the governor, but you see, you cannot. This scenario on ground does not favor you absolutely. You have very formidable rivals sharing power with you in that place. So look at the reality. We can be talking about morality from now till tomorrow. For those who do not understand that politics and morality don't go together. They don't. But you can find some people saying, when he was in office, did he allow this and that? You're talking morality. It has nothing to do. And because politics and morality don't have anything to do, that's why you have a Fubara that also worked with Wike for so many years.
Saying that he was the pro.
So because it's not about morality, it's about you look at what you could do and what you could not do at every point in time. So I think maybe the president will now be able to calm both sides. Look, remove impeachment from the equation.
But do you think Fubara will want to back down? I mean, it's more or less like he's on the he's at the receiving end right now because of what happened yesterday at the court.
The more reason why he should play down, I think. Now, from that court ruling, I don't believe that is the end of the road for Fubara either. I think what the appeal court said was that high court business was monkey business. That this thing belonged to the federal, high court. So you go to, they could all return to the federal court and see what happens. I don't think they will get a lot from there. And I've said this thing from the beginning. So you cannot begin to jump around that. Oh, you have left. The court would have a few things to say about, whether you have left or not. And in our situation, I don't believe that they are going to get a favorable judgment, from any federal high court.
All right.
In that regard.
Yesterday we were talking about a particular agreement that the federal government maybe or maybe not signed, and that is the one concerning the same-sex clause.
Yes.
Where we think, they say, if you want us to borrow you money and keep borrowing you money, you have to sign this. And in that agreement, there is a clause that says you have to accept same-sex marriage. Man and man, a woman and woman getting married.
It's not. That's not true.
So now a reply is coming.
It's not true. There's nothing like if you want to borrow your money, you have to accept same.
A clause.
It's not. It's non-existent. I've read the whole thing.
Okay.
It's not there. You see, we are implying. You understand? We are implying that since European Union is forcing this thing through everywhere, and they're using all the resources they have to push it. Therefore, taking money from them under the Samoa situation implies that, you see, it's just implying none of them is stupid. The European Union knows that we have a law dead set against that. So they are not going to ask us to go into illegality in our own country against our law. So I don't know why. I still don't know. So I went to really read around this thing yesterday, and I see that you have a few countries around. In fact, it's even continental. You have the European Union. You have Organization of Africa. I think Caribbean
and
Pacific states. I think that's what this thing is about. And if you go and ask me, for instance, we have to unalive a few people in this union that you want to sign into. In my country, you cannot unalive people, right? So you're asking me to sign. That's null and void, because the way the law works is everything that confronts our constitution is automatically null and void.
Exactly.
So it does not exist. But it's good for people to exercise sometimes, get excited.
Yes, so that is what they said. They said we signed it, but be rest assured there is nothing like that. Same-sex marriage would never become a deal in Nigeria, and it was not included in whatever it is that we signed.
As a matter of fact, the people who are actually at the forefront, of this thing, like the Honorable Minister of Budget and this and that, he comes from a place where
it would never be allowed.
He will not be able to return to that place.
He may be stoned.
So there is no way. I think people, and rightfully, people should become edgy around these things.
All
like
right.
I told you yesterday.
Yes, we need to go pay some bills.
All right.
All right, when we're back, we'll continue the conversation. We'll be right back.
Akitibo 88.7 FM.
My baby is 6 months old.
Oh my! 6 months old?
Wow! Now your baby needs more than breast milk. It's time to introduce mashed meals. In addition to breast milk, begin to give your baby mashed meals that contain at least one item from each of these 5 food groups: eggs, fish or meat, fruits and vegetables, oils, beans, groundnuts, soya or millet, rice, potato, maize or yam from 6 months. In addition to breast milk, your baby needs this combination of food types to grow healthy. This message is from the Anrin Project or your State Ministry of Health.
Ó yá gbà ọmọ mi ọ̀wọ́n.
Mami, ẹ fi mílìkì sí ni.
Kò di dandan, ìwọ tó wò ná.
Báwo lẹ ṣe ṣe?
Ǹjẹ́ mílìkì inú ẹ̀ péye?
Ní gidi gan.
Ṣé ọ̀rá wàrà náà ẹ̀ ṣàn tó?
Bẹ́ẹ̀ni.
Milo 3-in-1 milky and creamy nìyẹn o. Mílìkì inú ẹ̀ péye, mi ò nílò láti ṣàfikún mílìkì sí i.
Mo nífẹ̀ẹ́ rẹ̀ màámi.
Fún àwọn ọmọ rẹ ní Milo 3-in-1 milky àti creamy tuntun, mílìkì inú ẹ̀ péye, ó kún fún káṣíọ̀mù láti ran àwọn ọmọ rẹ lọ́wọ́ láti yege lójoojúmọ́. Milo, agbára láti tẹ̀síwájú.
Milo. Àtótó arére o gbogbo ẹ̀yin ọkùnrin tó ń tiraka láti dakọni ọkùnrin mẹ́ta nínú ilé tàbí níbikíbi lótìtọ́ ni pé ọkùnrin ogun kan ò sí tí ò bá lè ṣèṣe akọni lọ́dọ̀ olólùfẹ́ ó débẹ̀ herbal mixture ló nílò kó mú dọ́yà kànṣe gbòógì tá a gbé jáde pẹ̀lú ọ̀jọ̀gbọ́n ewé àti egbò àbáláyé táwọn baba wa fi ń gbéra sọ pitú rẹpẹtẹ níjọ̀hún àná ó débẹ̀ herbal mixture ti gbàgbóró kan gbogbo ayé ló ti ń kó ní wìtìwìtì wọn náà mú kan lónìí kó gbẹlura kára ó le koko bí ọ̀tá wàá sì múnádóko débẹ̀ tàtẹ̀ kanlẹ̀ láti jẹ́ alágbàtà kẹ̀sì kó ní wìtìwìtì ẹ máa pe 091-6620-6959 tàbí 080-7051-7024 ó débẹ̀ herbal mixture ó máa gbé ẹ débẹ̀.
ọmọ mi ti pọ̀ṣù mẹ́fà ẹ bá mi dúpẹ́ oṣù mẹ́fà ẹ bá mi dúpẹ́.
ó ti yẹ kóṣù mẹ́fà nìyẹn. ọmọ ò máa ń pẹ́ dàgbà o. báyìí o ọmọ rẹ ti wá nílò ju omi ọyàn nìkan lọ o. àkókò ti tó láti máa fún un ní oúnjẹ fífọ́ ní àfikún sí ọyàn. rí i dájú pé àwọn oúnjẹ ọmọ rẹ ní ó kéré tán ọ̀kan lára àwọn oúnjẹ àfọ́pọ̀ márùn-ún wọ̀nyí: ẹyin, ẹja tàbí ẹran, èso àti ewébẹ̀, epo tàbí òróró, ẹ̀wà, ẹ̀pà tàbí sóyà, ìrẹsì, ọ̀dùnkún, àgbàdo tàbí iṣu. ọmọ rẹ bẹ̀rẹ̀ láti oṣù mẹ́fà nílò omi ọyàn àtàwọn oúnjẹ wọ̀nyí fún ìdàgbàsókè àti ìlera. Máa fún wọn lọ́yàn títí yóò fi pé ọmọ ọdún 2 àti jù bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ.
Ìkéde yìí wá láti àkànṣeṣẹ́ Anrin, iléeṣẹ́ tó ń mójútó ètò ìlera ìpínlẹ̀ Ọ̀yọ́.
Nígbà àwọn àṣà ò mọyì àṣà ló jẹ́ káṣà òfófẹ́ rẹ̀ kó gbé wọn láṣà lọ. Kí tiwa má bàa rí bẹ́ẹ̀ ló mú ìjọba ìpínlẹ̀ Ọ̀yọ́ lábẹ́ iléeṣẹ́ àṣà ohun ìrìn àjò afẹ́ darapọ̀ mọ́ ogunlọ́gọ̀ èèyàn lágbàáyé láti ṣọdún igun tọdún ní Àràbà Ifáyẹmí Ẹlẹ́bùúbọn lálejò pàtàkì tí wọ́n sì tún máa bá wa sọ̀rọ̀ àpilẹ̀kọ Olúbàdàn tilẹ̀ Ìbàdàn Aláyélúwà ọba Akínlóye Owólabí Ìyàndá Ọlákùlẹ́yìn àtàwọn ìgbìmọ̀ wọn lórí adé ń kalẹ̀ lọ́jọ́ náà gómìnà Olúwaṣèyí Abíọ́dún Mákindé lẹ́ni àyẹ́sí pàtàkì olùgbàlejò àgbà ní igbákejì gómìnà ìpínlẹ̀ Ọ̀yọ́ amòfin Báyọ̀ Làwà bẹ́ẹ̀ ni kọmíṣánná fún àṣà ohun ìrìn àjò afẹ́ ọ̀mọ̀wé Wàsíù Adéwálé Ọlátúnbọ̀sún àti aṣòfin Bísí Olúrántí Michael ni wọn ò jọ gbà wá lálejò lọ́jọ́ 11 oṣù keje láago 11 lẹ́tọ̀ gbogbo bẹ̀rẹ̀ àbáwọlé sí pápá àṣírí Adámàsìngbà tó kọjú sí recreation club níbi tá a bá wọlé síbi ayẹyẹ ẹ wá wo oríṣiríṣi eégún oníjó àti eégún onídán pẹ̀lú àwọn onífújì lóníranran àmàlà àtàbùlà ló ń jẹ níbi ayẹyẹ àṣà ní ṣàfihàn ràn ìmúra rẹ tó ṣàfihàn rẹ gẹ́gẹ́ bí ojúlówó ọmọ Yorùbá ló fi wọlé síbi ayẹyẹ ìwọ náà wá wò ó sì rí pàṣà wa tó rà lẹ́gbàá ọ̀kẹ́ iléeṣẹ́ àṣà ohun ìrìn àjò afẹ́ ìpínlẹ̀ Ọ̀yọ́ ló ń kéde o.
Akidibo 88.7 FM.
All right, we're back, and this is still the dailies. Before we left, we were talking about the agreement that the federal government signed, and they are saying that it has nothing to do with same-sex marriage. It is not happening. We signed it, but we are not going against the Constitution of Nigeria that is against same-sex marriage. So it is not happening. I'm not sure you were trying to make a point before we left.
I don't mind people the anxiety, that edgy reaction to it, because people simply do not welcome this kind of thing in our country. This is one thing that links all of us, the Christians, the Muslims, the traditionalists. You hardly find a situation, something that binds the three of them together. Mm-hmm. This one does.
This one?
This one absolutely does. Nobody wants to smell this kind of thing here. So, and that tells you that there's no politician that could go and undertake this kind of perilous,
agreement.
So I don't see it, but I don't mind people feeling like they are feeling, because I told you yesterday, this thing is going. They don't let go. They don't stop. They are going to keep coming right through our generations until
they don't want to accept.
See, they fought their own societies, though. These Europeans, is their thing, to be doing boys and all that. And if you go into their history, you will see it's very prominent in their history.
It's been there.
It's been there for a long time. But I don't believe that they should be forcing it down anybody's throats. When Obama was campaigning to become the American president, the first time. So I'm giving you a fair idea of how powerful these people are. When he was campaigning the first time to become American president, he didn't campaign in favor of gay, same-sex marriage, this and that. He didn't during the first round. But by the time his 4 years were spent and he wanted a second term, it became a powerful campaign point for Obama. And, his popularity then had simmered somewhat. And I think his strategists were telling him, look, Mr. President, you have to be very vocal about this one this time around. Otherwise, you might lose this election.
Maestro, let us move on, because this one is somewhat concerning parents and concerning everyone in the country, because this news says JAMB uncovers 3,000 fake graduates. 3,000. And according to the news, some of these people have never set foot in the four walls of a classroom. And they got their certificates.
So how come it's JAMB that's discovering that?
That's not the schools.
Not the schools. How?
Exactly.
I'm thinking, why is it JAMB, that discovered that, and not the schools themselves that, we've issued certificates to people who never set foot in our institutions.
I mean, there are classes. There are attendants.
See, the way you link up with JAMB is when you're going into...
When you're going in, exactly.
Yes, but when you get the certificate is when you're going out of those institutions, which does not connect with JAMB at all. So I will need some more information about this
from JAMB?
Well, from anywhere. Because I'm thinking that it's actually the schools that should be discovering this.
Happens.
Yes, of course.
It does happen.
So what I'm familiar with is that these institutions will now maybe your fourth year, your final year, it will come out and that you have been playing here. There's no certificate waiting for you at the end of this because you're not a student, and so on and so forth. But the other way is for rackets inside institutions to be cutting and issuing out certificates to people.
Schools themselves.
Yes, and then be ensuring that those things are actually in the system.
I actually did hear about a case of a particular school that, under anonymity, of course, saying for even for those that are in school, if you want to pass this particular course, there is a cost for it. If you want to get your certificate without entering any class from 100 level till your final year, there is a cost for it.
Yes.
You just have to pay and get your certificate.
And
this is happening.
It's been on for, let me tell you how some of these things run. You have some, people who simply, it catches their fancy. Maybe you are in some other kind of profession, and you have really grown big and everything.
Excelled there.
And you want to be become this and that. You simply enrolled, and someone else will be doing things for you. And then you get your certificate at the end of the day. You attach it to your name.
Wow.
We've been doing that forever.
Education.
We've been doing that forever in this country. And you see, all departments would even...
They'll be in on it.
There will be no encouraging people, clearly to... because they will be celebrating those people. And those people in return to will be funding some things in the department or faculty, big guys and so on. And it's part of how really corrupt we are on the inside. We like to talk about other people a lot, especially government, but I've always said these people in government, they went from us. They went from our midst.
They're not aliens.
Yeah, they went from our midst. And we have, look, talk about awards. We're always corrupt around awards. See, this ASU will fight and do this and do that and talk tough. And, at the end of the day, the people that they are fighting, they are the ones who will award them honorary certificates.
Of course.
So you honor them with one hand and then you call them dishonorable with another. So what do you expect me to believe? They are the ones you give all manner of honorary awards. You don't fight that. And these people actually, they pay for those awards. And if you want to award contracts, the same thing.
They know how to go
so around awards, you know what surrounds awards. And then that's where we meet, right? People in government and this other side. So I go and bid.
So, and now we have to accept the bitter truth that corruption is everywhere.
It is, it's in us. So,
it is in us.
Yes, if we want to. So sometimes it's a humiliating, it's a humbling factor. Let me say, it's a humbling factor when you begin to talk at the top of your voice. You must remember that you're also talking about yourself. And that's how the late Dr. Ishola Olasunmade, that's another conversation, maybe for another day.
All right, then. Let us come down to your state. And yes, Akinyele local government, precisely. Because as a way of tackling kidnapping and acts of criminality, the leadership of Akinyele local government area of your state has banned vigils and other religious activities conducted late in the night. Because there have been reports of kidnappings, which is often, and because this particular one saying, quote and unquote, saying that sometimes in a week, when they called a particular meeting concerning this incident, there was another incident of kidnapping, and it was again from a church inside a bush that they were holding a vigil. And there have been cases of kidnapping which is not yielding results, as they have been trying to curb it. So now there is no more vigil in Akinyele local government area. So what do you think about this, Maestro?
Well, I think we should appreciate the efforts of Akinyele local government.
Led by Mr. Wole Akinleye.
Yes, I think, people should appreciate that. Making strong moves against these criminals and their criminal tendencies is a good thing. However, I don't know if that will stand the scrutiny of justice. If somebody decides to go to court to say, why should you affect?
Because we're talking about religion here. You know how we are.
We're talking about religion. We're also talking about business. We're also talking about freedom. So these things are very vital. And no matter how good your intentions are, you have to look at that flip side. That what will this translate to? If it's going to translate to infringing on people's rights and thereby breaking the law, being government does not mean you could not break the law.
Exactly.
So if you are going to be breaking the law in that fashion, you need to look at it again and see how you could do it without breaking the law. It's very important. But I'll have you know that people who go into religion, these outings, these vigils, these calls to prayer and everything, they hardly look at other things. Like the local government will be looking at it,
like
saying,
the security.
yes, they don't look at security. They don't look at convenience or inconvenience of other people. They don't look at those things. Because when you put your loudspeakers, for instance, in a neighborhood, and you begin to run drums and you're shouting and everybody under the influence of your voice from the evening till the morning, I wonder if you're considering people who have gone to work all day and they want to sleep in their neighborhood. If you're thinking about people who are even sick and they've taken medication and they want to have peace, you're not thinking of all those people. And I think government should be looking in this direction seriously. This day and age that we have technology, all manner of noise should be wrapped inside, an enclosure where you will not disturb anybody at all. I think that's very important. What I'm saying is we should look at everything, including security, as Akinyele is looking at it, and also environmental pollution, noise pollution, everything should be considered.
All right, then. We're actually 3 minutes behind schedule to open the phone lines already. And now we are going to do just that. Apologies. 07041001887 or +234 704 7008873. But before we open the phone lines, before we start taking calls, we have to listen to this.
Thank you for your attention. It's been lovely to have you keeping it locked on OGIDI 88.7 FM. Now is the time to join in the conversation, to have the word, hear your voice, because we are the people's voice. Meanwhile, while you contribute to this program, kindly note that in accordance with broadcasting ethics, you are requested to keep your contributions modest, truthful, concise, and not offensive, inflammatory, or with tendencies to cause discomfort to anyone. Thank you. Now, let the conversation begin.
Hello. Good morning.
Good morning, sir. Your name and where you're calling from?
My brother, Malaji Tunde Olawola.
All right, sir. Your contribution.
River State is a test case. You see, you have always been saying it. Our court system needs to be reformed. When courts give conflicting judgments, it tells you there is something underground. And you see, these are people who have declared in the house that they are moving to another party. It's an open to be said it. But you see, the court will be given technicalities. I think we need to reform our judicial system. And judges need to be extra careful in handling political matters.
All right.
See, the problem is this one is not even about conflicting judgments. We are talking about state high court should not have undertaken
interfered at all
because it lacks jurisdiction. That's the point.
All right. It seems that the Senate is in a probing spree right now because they're about to probe the Mambila Power contract again, the $5.7 billion Mambila Power contract. So let's take this call first. Hello. Good morning.
Good morning.
Your name and where you're calling from, sir?
Olasunmade from Ikoyi.
All right, sir. Your contribution.
I think we should commend Akano local government for bringing this law into order. My own point is that it is good enough to emulate for all other local government to emulate this type of system. When we talk of restructuring, that is restructuring from the grassroots. I think I'm in support of Akano local government and other local government councils in other
states like Osun, Oyo, and other western
Southern states. All right. Thank you so much, sir, for your contribution. So, Maestro, we are probing the Mambila Power contract. Yesterday, we had quite a few stories about probing too.
Yes. You see, there's nothing really wrong with probing. I don't mind. The last time that, we got serious about probing, especially about IPP, was what Obasanjo left behind. And that was a very big one. And we didn't really know if the National Assembly was out on witch hunting or not. It got really bad, destroyed the political career of Lawan Farouk, and one other person from the southeast. I've forgotten his name now. So I don't think it's bad to probe. It's actually the job they signed, for.
Is something not wrong? Where we are seeing it as a job for them.
That's what
we are
they should be doing. They should be doing a lot of serious probing. But at the end of each round of probing, we should have results. And that is where we fall out. Because we hardly ever have results. They simply announce that they were going to probe, and then after a while, we don't see anything happening. Or even if they see it through, we don't see anything at the end of the probe. That's why I'm not really interested in these announcements that we are going to probe this or we are going to probe that.
Let's see the results.
If the results will come, yes, one will be interested in these things.
All right. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, sir. Your name and where you're calling from?
Johnny Azon is my name. I'm calling from Olumi.
All right, your contribution.
I think on the issue of security that Yele has taken a stand. So it's a commendable but my friends with our system allow you to work. Just this is a politician. I know these pastors and imams they are running to. Just like a matter always said, the only thing with that word that will solve the problem of this country that is restructuring. And that's the first what we should, our first reward should go to. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for your contribution. Yes, we have the story saying Ubasane reinstates Kaduna monarch sacked by El Rufai.
So
politics.
So it continues. Politicians will come and sack monarchs, and then another one will come and reinstate them. So this is what we're experiencing in a few places, including Kano today. That problem is still going on in Kano. And politics, so much political storm.
And we have Bayero's Council withdrawing legal services on the issue of Kano Emiaship Toso.
Well, why? I don't know why he withdrew his services. Irreconcilable differences, perhaps. Or maybe it's the long reach of politicians that is affecting the lawyer-client relationship there.
So now they're out. All right, let us continue the conversation in the studio 0704 1001 887. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, sir. Your name and where you're calling from?
I'm calling Alaji Ahmed from Abu.
All right, sir. Your contribution.
Yeah, your security. Tí wọ́n ti kọ̀ ní Akínyẹlé yẹn.
Yes, sir.
Ó yẹ káwọn èèyàn wọ́n mọ̀ wípé bí ìlú bá ti ṣe ń rí, ó ní gbogbo nǹkan ló ń yí padà. In the olden days, a máa ń ṣe party, night party ní mọ́júmọ́. Kò sí anybody tí ń ṣe night party mọ́júmọ́ ní ìfẹ́. O lè rí anybody anywhere. In the olden days, a ló kó lọ sí party. Alẹ́ nu kẹ́lẹ́kẹ́lẹ́ wa mọ́júmọ́. Kò sí kó o lè rẹ́ anybody fún àìsàn náà pàtì mọ́ ìdí Nàìjíríà tẹ́lẹ̀tẹ́lẹ̀ kálukú náà máa ń rìn lóru but
because of security.
For security reasons because for security reasons.
All right.
Kò sí nǹkan kan. So gbogbo activities tó bá ti jẹ mọ́ọ̀rù, people should be very, very careful.
All right. Thank you so much, sir, for your contribution. We sincerely appreciate that. Thank you so much, sir. 0704 1001 887. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning, ma.
Good morning, sir. Your name and where you're calling from?
My name is Adenike Ishola Olasunmade. I'm calling from Bodija Market.
All right, sir. Your contribution.
Yeah. I would like to talk about the issue of cholera. Then there's this thing that you discussed this morning about flooding linking up with the well water people use.
Yes.
I just want to say that thing is very, very real. I want to give 2 instances. There was a day sometime last month that it rained throughout the day, almost throughout the day. So I was passing through inside Kara Market. You know, inside that place, there are a lot of people living deep inside, and they have water issues there. So every well water inside that area is very, very important to them. So there was this particular well water that passed beside. In fact, it was inside the compound. If you see the way erosion water was standing inside the well, it was so loud, and that water is what they used to cook to do their living. That's one instance. The second instance I want to give, I have this friend that lives in one of the prominent hostels estate at Orogun. So one day I saw him with a load of kegs inside his car, going to fetch water. Then I asked him what happened to his house. Then he said they discovered that their well water is linked with their soakaway. That issue is very common. In fact, in the big estate, it's a very common factor that can lead to cholera.
All right.
Soakaway linking up with well water. It may not be the soakaway inside
all
your
right.
compound.
Okay, so
we understand that now.
The first thing you have to consider from what you have said is that soakaway linking with that's not a function of flooding. You should know by mere saying it and hearing it that it's not a function of flooding. There's a certain proximity that shouldn't be that occurred there. Then when you're talking about flooding into wells and so on, that's been happening for ages, and we've not had cholera outbreaks after each round of flooding. So I don't still believe that there is a direct connection, but we've heard you.
All right. Thank you so much for your contribution. Now we have to go pay some bills. When we're back, we'll continue the conversation by reading comments on Facebook page. We'll be back.
Akidibo 88.7 FM.
No matter waiting, I show you, you show me love.
1, 2, 3, 4.
You show me, you show me, you show me love.
Show some more love today with 4 more packs of your favorite Indomie noodles in Indomitable and Super Pack cartons. Also, each Indomitable pack is now 200 naira, while Super Pack is now 350 naira. So hurry now. Offer valid till stock last.
Ó yá gbà ọmọ mi ọ̀wọ́n.
Mami, fi mílìkì sí ni.
Kò di dandan ìwọ tó wò ná.
Báwo lẹ ṣe ṣe?
Ǹjẹ́ mílìkì inú ẹ̀ péye?
Ní gidi gan.
Ṣé ọ̀rá wàrà náà ṣàn tó?
Bẹ́ẹ̀ni.
Milo 3-in-1 milky and creamy nìyẹn o. Mílìkì inú ẹ̀ péye. Mi ò nílò láti ṣàfikún mílìkì sí.
Mo nífẹ̀ẹ́ rẹ̀ màámi.
Fún àwọn ọmọ rẹ ní Milo 3-in-1 milky àti creamy tuntun, mílìkì inú ẹ̀ péye. Ó kún fún calcium láti ran àwọn ọmọ rẹ lọ́wọ́ láti yege lójoojúmọ́. Milo, agbára láti tẹ̀síwájú.
Milo. Ìrìn àjò lọ sílẹ̀ mímọ́ Mẹ́kà ò kéré. Ní jẹ́ gbogbo ẹni tó bá fẹ́ lọ wá iléeṣẹ́ gidi tí ò ní kó wọn sí wàhálà, tí ò ní dé Mẹ́kà tán kí wọ́n da nílẹ̀ láì bìkítà àti ṣiṣẹ́ tó bá lọ. Gbogbo ẹni tó bá wá ń gbìyànjú àti lọ sílẹ̀ mímọ́ Mẹ́kà fún umrah October sí November tó ń bọ̀ yìí. Ajé ní ènìyàn iléeṣẹ́ kan. Masha Allah, ajá umrah service ní kẹ́ ẹ bá lọ. Sísanwó wọn ò gúnpá. Ilégbé wọn ní Mẹ́kà ìrọ̀rùn ló bá dé. Fún gbogbo ẹni tó bá wọn lọ. Gbogbo ètò ló sì ti tò láì sí wàhálà. Gbogbo ẹ̀yin tẹ́ nífẹ̀ẹ́ àti bá wọn rìnrìn àjò wúmúra October sí November tó ń bọ̀ yìí àrà ọ̀tọ̀ ni wúmúra yìí jẹ́ o pẹ̀lú àkànṣe àdúrà tí iléeṣẹ́ Mashallah ajẹ́ wúmúra ṣàgbékalẹ̀ rẹ̀ tí gbogbo ẹni tí wọ́n bá jọ lóòjọ́ ṣe képo lóhùn pẹ̀lú ìgbàgbọ́ pé àdúrà mi ó gbà ìyẹn ní wúmúra fún gbogbo ẹni tó bá fẹ́ bá wọn lọ. ẹ lè kàn sí wọn ní shop B3 Alaka junction ayégun ọ̀lẹ́yọ̀ road ní garage Ìbàdàn tàbí ká ẹ pè sórí nọ́mbà yìí 07037417353 tàbí 07064274181 Mashallah iléeṣẹ́ alálàájì rọrùn.
I am pregnant. It is important for me to take care of myself and stay healthy.
To be strong and have a healthy pregnancy, take iron and folic acid tablets every day when you're pregnant. This prevents anemia and helps maintain a healthy pregnancy. Visit your healthcare provider for regular antenatal care. This message is from the Anrin Project or your State Ministry of Health.
Bàbá mi ní ìpín ìdókòwò ní ilé ìfowópamọ́ Fidelity.
Ìyá mi ní mílíọ̀nù kan ìdókòwò Fidelity.
Wo bàbá mi ní mílíọ̀nù méjì ìdókòwò Fidelity.
Kódà ìyá mi ní ẹ̀ẹ́dẹ́gbẹ̀ta mílíọ̀nù ìdókòwò Fidelity.
Ṣé o tún wá rí i? Bàbá mi ní àìmọye ìdókòwò Fidelity tí kò lóǹkà.
Gẹ́gẹ́ bí bàbá àti ìyá àwọn ọmọ wọ̀nyí, ẹ̀yin náà lè darapọ̀ mọ́ àwọn tó bá fẹ́ ní ìpín ìdókòwò ní ilé ìfowópamọ́ Fidelity tí ó ń lọ lọ́wọ́ báyìí. Ilé ìfowópamọ́ Fidelity gbé ìpín ìdókòwò bílíọ̀nù 10 fún gbogbo ará ìlú ní náírà 9 àti kọ́bọ̀ 75. Àwọn tí wọ́n darapọ̀ mọ́ wa tẹ́lẹ̀ tó ní àǹfààní láti ní ìpín ìdókòwò bílíọ̀nù 3 àti 2 mílíọ̀nù ní náírà 9 àti kọ́bọ̀ 25. Ìpín ìdókòwò yóò dópin ní ọjọ́ 29 oṣù keje ọdún 2024. Ké sí stockbroker rẹ lónìí kí o bá lè jẹ àǹfààní yìí.
We are Fidelity. We keep our word. Akidibo 88.7 FM.
All right, you're welcome back. Picking it up from comment on Facebook page, Nana says, yes, some weekend is fast becoming notorious for uncharitable behavior and reckless utterances. But I'm surprised Tinubu has not called him to order. He seems to be enjoying every bit of the shameless dance. Rashid Anelka says, Onakinyele banning night vigil. Onakinyele banning vigil. It is a welcome idea, but who will enforce the law? The expanse of that local government alone is something else. But I'll be glad if this comes to stay. I have this particular church near my house that normally do vigil every Friday night. John Akirele says, good morning. About the security in Akinyele. The ban should be for both religions. This from Engineer Adenike Ishola Olasunmade says, a system where morality has been thrown into the dustbin cannot be said to be healthy because the prayers can do anything to achieve their ulterior motives, even signing the agreement that can mortgage the lives of the led. Corruption caught across all levels because the leaders comes from the followership. Femi Ranki says, in the past 3 months, I personally have come across up to 17 people, including children who had flu, catarrh, cough, or malaria, and not one of them had cholera. This is my personal view, though. All right, Kazim Olawale says, the leaders in power are not ready for any restructuring. And as long as we have had people like this leading their country, the citizens will continue to suffer. May God rescue Nigeria. Oladere Bayonle says, Nigerians lack basic things that they should be provided by government. And every successive state governors are neglecting their core duty. I don't know why all of a sudden federal government are taking more responsibilities which belong to state and local government. In all, they are performing woefully and citizens will always blame the federal government for anything. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Your name and where you're calling from, sir?
I'm calling from Ibadan.
All right, sir, your contribution.
Very shortly, I want to talk about the pipe-down water which Metro referred to. Yeah, he was very right. The military destroyed so many things. And then the military administrators with their civil servants, they use the military against their perceived enemies. And after that, every successful government in all the southwestern states did not do anything right. Look at the case of Oyo State. When Governor Lamadeshina came, they laid pipe all over Ibadan and Oyo State. No drop of water came out of that. Nigeria did the same thing. Akala did the same thing. Ajimobi did the same thing. So they never wanted to do anything about that. So I agree with Maestro. How can the government somebody is asking for pipe-borne water now? How many years does it think it will take to lay pipe across the state? So we are just fooling ourselves. Let us continue to pray. Thank you. God bless.
All right. Thank you so much for your contribution. 0704 1001 887 or plus 034 704 700 8873. Hello. Good morning. Good morning. Hello. All right. Please, when you're ready to talk, you can call back 07041001 or plus 034 704 700 8873. Those are the phone lines to call to join in the conversation in the studio this morning. Hello. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, sir. Your name and where you're calling from?
I'm Honorable Wale calling from the world.
All right, sir. Your contribution.
Good morning, Mr. Maestro.
Good morning.
Sir, please, I want to talk on the issue of this marriage of the same sex. I think we should discourage this thing from the local government. I mean, from the federal government. Because I believe these European people want to force us to sign our death certificate. Thanks.
All right. Thank you so much, sir. Okay, we have this news quickly. NNPC disagrees as report puts petrol debt at $6 billion. They are saying no, that is wrong. Nigeria's debt to suppliers of premium auto spirits, popularly called petrol, has surpassed $6 billion, doubling what it was since early April. And that is what is coming from the NNPC saying, no, do not peg it at $6 billion. It is more than that.
All right, so things are coming down in the United Kingdom. The Labour Party appears set to take over. Have you seen that?
Yeah, Labour heads for victory in UK exit poll. Well, that story is right there on page 28 of the Punch newspaper. Are you any word on that before we leave?
It's been quite a while since Labour held that office. Quite a while. So I think it's... I don't know how much of a shift it's going to be from where the Conservatives have, from the direction the Conservatives have taken the UK. But we will see if Rishi Sunak rests and Labour takes over. Where will they go? What will really happen? Would there be a fundamental change in the strides of United Kingdom? How that nation is steered, we'll see. I can't really say much now, but
we shall see.
Let's see what
if this
goes
is the
down.
actual end of Sunak's term.
It's almost certain.
That seems so.
Sunak is over.
All right. Adexi says, if we have devoted our energy and demanded restructuring before the election instead of promoting presence based on our tribe, things may not have been like this. We should direct restrictions call to those in power.
No, it's a useless position because what were you doing that time?
What call were you making that
What
time?
did you put your energy to that time?
All right, your pattern shot, Maestro, this morning quickly
for young people to keep on focusing,
to keep on learning.
It's very important. Expand your vocabulary. Try to listen to people around you who are smarter, and be very careful about rooms where you stay in and you appear to be the smartest person in the room. Go to where you are not the smartest person. You will
so
learn
that
more.
you can improve.
You will learn more there.
Wow, that is a great one to end the week this morning. My name is Wura Ola Yusuf, and tomorrow we shall till Monday we shall get to discuss about our great nation Nigeria. Happy weekend.